Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024. It is Sunday night. It is 8:24 Eastern Time in the PM. I am Dave Bryan from SteelersDepot.com, and with me, as usual, is Alex Kozora, fresh off yet another trip out to Latrobe, Saint Vincent College, to watch training camp practice, and we're going to wrap up what all he saw earlier in the day. Alex, happy Sunday. Happy end of a 6-day stretch there at training camp, the hardest one we'll go through this year.
Happy Sunday, Dave. Yeah, that was a pretty crazy stretch, some really fun days, intense practices, a little bit of rain, but overall, I'll take it weather-wise and certainly take it from an on-field perspective. I thought it was a really good, almost full week of work for this Pittsburgh Steelers squad.
All right. And as usual, we are pleased to be sponsored on these special editions of the Terrible Podcast by Touring Plans. Alex, tell the folks about Touring Plans.
Sure. Longtime sponsor of our Steelers Depot training camp coverage, and have to always thank Lynn Testa, who's a big part and leader of Touring Plans, to always message me a couple weeks before training camp and reach out about a sponsorship, which we happily accept, because Touring Plans is the place to contact to book your upcoming trip to Disney World, Disneyland, or the Disney Cruise Line. With Touring Plans, you'll get access to their crowd calendar to know when the busiest times in the parks are and the least busy times, how to avoid waiting in line for hours and hours just to ride one ride, insider restaurant reviews, tips just to have the best experience possible, and also how to save money on tickets and the entire experience and Disney trip in general. So if you're planning a trip here to Disney later this winter, as I know many people here up here in Pittsburgh do when the weather turns cold, you go to Florida, go south for a couple weeks in the winter, reach out to Touring Plans, that's touringplans.com, and tell them Steelers Depot sent you.
Please do. And shout out, thanks again to Lynn Testa and the fine folks at Touring Plans. Okay, Alex, got some housekeeping to take care of today. No transactions to speak of the last couple of days, but you got some guys getting shuffled in and out, some half days, and I think you're gonna eat up a little bit of the podcast here.
Yeah, just want to touch base that we're in the, past halfway point of training camp. And so there's more injuries to deal with. Feels like the team has been a little less transparent about injuries, just kind of put blanket statements out there. And unless somebody is super notable or super serious, Tomlin has not mentioned it much, but we spotted a couple guys not practicing today. Roman Wilson continues to be out with that left ankle. No update on where Jeremiah Moon has been for the last 2-3 days. He did not practice. Unfortunate news for tight end Rodney Williams. He's gone backwards. He did not practice today with that shoulder injury. At least I assume that he re-injured that shoulder. He was working in full in Saturday's paddless practice, but not even in uniform today. Patrick Queen remains out after getting dinged in 7-on-7, either a foot or an ankle. It's minor, but do want to note that he did not practice. Limited Saturday. Most of this is rest related, or partially of this is rest related. Larry Ogunjobi did dress, did not work in team. Minka Fitzpatrick status quo, dressed but not in team. Kyron Johnson and Braylon Arnold are working their way back. Johnson with the hamstring, that's the left leg for Johnson, and Arnold don't know what the issue was, but he missed 2 days. He was working on the side, going full speed, did not work in team, but he looks very close to a full return. And Johnson might need another day or two, but he's working his way back. Wilson, by the way, is out of his boot. He wore a small black wrap on his left leg, but he's out of the boot. Caught some passes stationary from the quarterbacks later in practice. So there's progress there for Roman Wilson, which is very important.
All right, and I think Chris Boswell went in full uniform today, right?
Yeah, he wasn't. It's tough to tell with specialists. The other specialists were, but they didn't kick field goals. And I think Boz is a guy that can get away with wearing shorts out there instead of his, jersey pants and all that kind of stuff. So I don't, he was jogging some. I don't see any sign of injury. I think it was just, he knew he wasn't going to do literally anything today. Want to offer an update on the guys that are on some lists as well, the NFI and PUP, and some good news for Cordero Patterson and Dean Lowry. Both seem to be making progress. Patterson doing some jogging, some cutting, change of direction on some cones. That's the most active I've seen him so far. And Dean Lowry looks really close to being activated off a PUP. He was going through the bag drills, hitting the blocking sled. And so assuming that issue was the pec that he suffered last year, for him to do those things, I assume he's feeling pretty good at this point. So would not be surprised if he came off of active PUP sometime this upcoming week.
All right. And obviously they're off on Monday. So it would be Tuesday would be the next day that we see any possible update. And they would have to obviously announce any of those guys coming off the list before they practice. So we'll keep our eyes peeled out for there. The good news is it sounds like those guys are close. Obviously, Cole Holcomb, we don't think yet. Have you even seen Cole Holcomb out there?
I have not spotted him. Maybe I missed him. I don't think anyone else has talked about him. I have not personally seen Cole Holcomb, though, once during training camp.
All right. We'll be talking about him a lot on the Monday morning podcast, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. Okay. Let's see. Today was goal line and short yardage and a lot of stuff to feature the bigs on bigs, and I think some 7-on-7 and some 11-on-11 and some, I think 2-on-2s you wrote. No, let's start with the quarterback position. Russell Wilson did something more today. Did he not? What more did Russell Wilson do? See Russell Wilson run.
He did throw a pass in the team period in the full 11-on-11 for the first time in training camp. It was just one pass today, but that is a step. So it has been as incremental amount of progress as you can, coming back from an injury. But there was a play, it was team period. It looks like it's going to be run. I think they're in 13 personnel, and then Wilson checked to something and they went empty. And it took me a second to go, oh my God, they're an empty. Wilson's going to throw the ball here. And he did a 5-yard curl to Deuce Watts, who broke a tackle, got about 10 more yards, called a 15-yard gain. So Russell Wilson to Deuce Watts, 15 yards, as we all expected. The first completion that Wilson had in camp to, of course, Deuce Watts.
Yeah, I believe somewhere in one of these podcasts I said, watch for the Russell Wilson to Deuce Watts connection as the first completed pass Russell Wilson will make in a live session. No, that's look, at least he's moving in the right direction. And now we'll sit and wait and see what happens on Tuesday, whether or not he ramps it up more or what the volume is or what. So we just sit and wait when it comes to that. All right. Tell me about it.
It is just kind of, not that it's alarmist, but the progress that Wilson has made, and it's not his fault. It's just how the team, I think, is, handling it. But like tectonic plate, slow movement of Wilson of like every day, just the tiniest bit more than the occasional plateau. And then today throwing a pass. So yeah, Tuesday will be, I think, an important day to watch if he really ramps things up, but at least we've checked that box off for Russell Wilson.
All right. Tell me about Justin Fields' day.
Yeah, I don't know what my overall impression was. I think it was a fine day overall. The big play of the day was hitting George Pickens off of play action for probably 20 or 25 air yards, and then Pickens did the rest. And in a live tackling drill, stepped out of a Deshaun Elliott tackle. The defense, to be fair, I don't think they really knew if they should tackle Pickens in the open field or not in that moment, but either way, I call it a 70-yard touchdown. So that was the big play of the day. Wrote about this morning, and this was before today's practice, so this does not include that 70-yard touchdown, but just watching that Fields to Pickens connection heat up. And one reason we do our charting and our stats, even though in some respect it might feel like overkill, is to really, put some objective numbers to the eye test. And the eye test said the connection between Fields and Pickens was heating up, but the numbers back that up. Through the first 6 practices, Pickens from Fields had 9 catches for 116 yards and 1 touchdown. Over the last 3 practices heading into Sunday, Pickens had 15 catches, 144 yards, and 5 touchdowns. You can add big numbers to that today as well. So really seeing those two guys get on the same page. Now, in fairness, as Mike Tomlin said post-practice, I throw to 14 too. Pickens is a pretty good guy to put the ball to. So, I'm sure Wilson, whenever he gets out there, we'll look at Pickens quite a bit. But that connection has really come on strong.
In fact, Mike Tomlin was asked after practice on what stuck out between the connection of Justin Fields and George Pickens in practice today. Mike Tomlin said, "I'd throw the ball to George too. George is pretty good." Yes, he is. All right. And Kyle Allen continues maybe to go the other way, doesn't he?
Down those chutes for Kyle Allen and some of the, goal line area, red zone area, tight window throws, some poor decisions, a really bad decision in goal line today. And I don't know if he's just trying to let guys have a chance to make plays or not, but, ill-advised pass to Matt Sokol, who was not open at all, and Ryan Watts picked him off, and he's had some issues Allen has had the last couple of days. We'll pull the stats and kind of see where he's at numbers-wise, but been discouraging for Kyle Allen in that sense, making some poor decisions.
How many snaps Plumlee get today? Any?
He got at least one. I was noting that while Plumlee got a decent amount of work early in camp, it's been hard to find reps. Generally, the way that it's gone in the team period, putting aside the occasional Wilson appearance, which I haven't been able to kind of get a good feel of how often or when that's going to happen, but Justin Fields will come in the first 4 reps, which is normal for the starters. And then Kyle Allen will do reps 5, 6, and 7. And then Fields will come back in and do, I think, reps 8 and 9. And then Allen will come back in to generally do 10, 11, and 12 for the period. And so they basically both get 6 reps apiece, Fields and Allen. And only occasionally does Plumlee get in there for maybe the 11th or 12th snap of a team period. And that was different at the start when Plumlee was getting more opportunity, but it's really been focused on Fields and Allen since. And then you throw in a handful of snaps for Russell Wilson to hand the ball off most of the time, besides that one pass to Watts today. So yeah, just really not been there reps wise for Plumlee, but he continues to do his return work. And I think you're going to see Plumlee do return work in preseason action. You're going to see him do a punt or a kick or something. How well it will go, I don't know, but he'll be out there.
All right, let's move on to running backs. What stuck out today? I did see the one run by Jaylen Warren off the left side, some good blocking. Damn near about broke it, except DeMonte Casey got his played ankle biter in that one, I think, and got him down there. But what stuck out about the running backs, and I think you still call it a muddled mess behind Najee and Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, I wish Dejon Edwards would get more carries in those run periods, those live tackling. I don't think he's gotten many. It's been more Champlin and P. Ryan and Ward, and Edwards is a guy I want to see with the ball in his hands more often. Jack Coletto, it was probably a day for him. Not necessarily in the quality of the day. I think it was an okay day, but in terms of him getting a ton of snaps because they were working so many big people situations, short yardage, third and short, goal line type stuff. So he got a bunch of reps a day, had one attempted touchdown catch in that goal line period. Tough play to make, but it went through his hand. Deshaun Elliott had good coverage, so missed opportunity there for Coletto, but a lot of snaps. I think some pretty good lead blocking. I think he was even out there for that Warren run that you're talking about. I think Coletto was on the field there. Jaylen Warren got, and it's a very small sample size. I may be reading too much into this. I'm not trying to read a ton into it, but Warren got more work and got initial work over Najee Harris in the goal line drill. He got the first carry, had a carry later on. Harris did have one carry, and it was a touchdown. But could we see Jaylen Warren near the goal line more this year? Could they lean towards him because of the power? I wonder if we'll see that, or at least more of a split under Arthur Smith, because in past years, it really, even with Warren being active down near the goal line, it's always been Najee Harris.
And didn't we kind of note the usage of Arthur Smith in Atlanta with kind of distribution and spreading the football around?
I know in the pass game, I've noted that. I'm not entirely sure what the run game looked like. I think that probably tracks with just his overall philosophy. But I think we've talked about, how few carries Warren has gotten inside the 5 the last, 2 years. And I think you're going to see that shift in 2024.
And look, Najee's not bad down low.
No, he's not. But, Warren a little bit shorter and maybe a little harder to tackle down there. Harris loves to dive, which can work. But even in practice, he's been diving over the goal line, and that always makes me a little nervous here in practice, him diving, but he's okay.
How much have you been able to observe of Coletto as a lead blocker situation?
Not been able to focus in on it specifically. It's looked fine overall. He's got size, he's got power, and so those are, I think, attractive components. But I definitely want to be able to study that more in game because I've not gotten a great feel. Hey, one other thing I wanted to talk about. We talked about it kind of being a potential storyline in camp. I've not seen really any pony. No, like 2 running back looks. Which is funny. The one time we talk about it, as much as we talk about it, it's invisible.
We talk about it every year, though.
I know, but at least I thought this was the year, and no. But well, maybe that means we will see it in the regular season because they're not doing it in camp for a change.
It must be August 4th.
For sure.
All right, what you got on the tight ends? I tell you one thing, Michael Pruitt's staying out of the tub.
Yeah, he's been available. I think all the tight ends have, besides Rodney.
Right. That's what I'm getting at, because that's one of the battles I was kind of wondered about those two guys. And, as good a special teamer as Rodney Williams might be, I mean, he's struggling with that shoulder right now. And Michael Pruitt's out there what was Michael Pruitt, 42, 48?
What do you mean 42? Age-wise, making a joke.
I'm joking about the age.
I got you. A little slug. It's been a long 6 days. Yeah, no, Pruitt is definitely older, but he's available, and so that's going to help him in this pursuit for a roster spot, which is still up for grabs. Don't have a ton to note on the tight ends today. I didn't get a chance to really watch their blocking. Sometimes I can kind of get muddied in all the sea of players and piles. Again, I talked about Pat Frymuth, his leadership. I think you've seen that on display, become more vocal. He's spoken about that to reporters as well. Connor Hayward had a nice catch in the 1v1 on Casey. They called OPI on Hayward. It looked pretty clean to me, but just watching Hayward go up there to time his jump, he's a really good leaper. He high points the ball consistently with a good pair of hands. Just watching him as a receiver is impressive.
Did we do a draft profile 8-9 years ago on Michael Pruitt? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. I want to say no. I'd have to check, but I don't believe so.
I'm just doing a search. I'm not seeing one.
Is he a smaller school guy?
Southern Illinois.
Yes, I don't know how much Southern Illinois tape existed back in that day. But no, I don't believe we did one.
All right, wide receiver. What I have in my notes here. I mean, look. Yeah, why wouldn't you throw the ball to George Pickens, especially one of those plays? He's wide ass open. Excuse my French. But did see a nice slant to him in the middle of the field. And who was that came down low on him and tried to
take out the knees?
Yeah,
I couldn't tell.
That was a cringe moment right there. I mean, I understand they're hitting. I mean, that's why you got the pads on, but take it easy there, but we're seeing Pickens middle of the field. We're seeing Pickens and some of these clips move around and all, but where I'm going with this is what areas are noticeable developments maybe in this camp versus last camp with Pickens, if any?
I mean, to be fair, I was looking through some old notes earlier, and he was utilized in the slot. He was utilized in more areas of the field. His rookie year was kind of the year he was just a go deep, vertical, outside guy. I think they'll continue to work all levels, and I've certainly seen Pickens this year work all levels. Today, a good example of that. That downfield crosser that got open. I don't know how he got that wide open too, but he was. But then working screens, working slants, working digs. He had a good contested grab on Joey Porter Jr. today. I don't know who that was to try to cut him down. Might have been Casey, but I'm not 100% sure. But that was right after Pickens' 7-yard touchdown. So I think the defense said, this guy just housed one on us. Let's take this guy down. I think Pickens even kind of stayed on his feet on that play and wasn't, totally taken to the ground. So Pickens just looked well-rounded and a clear, obviously, number one receiver in this offense.
All right, you ready to write down the name of Van Jefferson and Penn yet?
We're moving that way. Even if they were to add somebody from the outside, Jefferson probably still makes it as a backup and a guy that can wear a lot of hats. And there was one play in particular today that stuck out to me, and it may sound really small, and in some ways it is. It was a 3-yard or so catch in the flat off of play action, but Jefferson is aligned as a wing. He on boot action, he runs out behind the line from left to right, and Fields under pressure from Leal, and Fields just gets rid of it. The ball's a yard or two in front of Jefferson. Could have let that one go. Wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world, but Jefferson full on dove out for the football and caught it, and then falls to the ground. He gets touched up. It's a 3-yard gain. But when a guy like Jefferson, a veteran who's made plays in camp, probably feels pretty comfortable in his spot is making that kind of effort play for a 3-yard gain in the flat. Kind of says something about his mentality. And so you got to appreciate that. So we talked yesterday, is he going to be really the true number 2? Is he your ideal number 2? Do I feel great about the receiver room right now? No, but I think Jefferson has certainly objectively had a good camp, and I really appreciated that moment from him making that kind of effort play when he probably didn't have to sacrifice his body like that.
You have any notes on Calvin Austin III today?
No, not really. Punt return work, but that's standard fare for him. Did he have a catch, Austin, today? Let's check my notes. Let's see if I have anything on Austin. Yeah, besides punt return stuff, I don't think he was targeted once today. So a quiet day for Austin. One of the other thing on Jefferson, he made one catch, and you saw some burst. You saw some yak from Jefferson, and Tomlin, praised Jefferson. He said, great run after. By Van, and so I saw a little burst, a little more athleticism I've seen from Jefferson than what he showed last year in Atlanta.
All right, any shake up on the offensive line rotations? I think some guys are getting some more reps and some more drills than previous. And I think you got a couple of notes on Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick.
Yeah, young guys getting extra reps today. Say Malu and Daniels practice, but there were times in team where they might get the first 2 plays, those 2, and then they'd come out, and McCormick would come in at left guard, Anderson right guard. There were times where Fautani was coming in right tackle. I know Broderick Jones played some left tackle today. Don't know how many snaps, a couple probably.
Milk what?
Yeah, you can do that. The team has figured that part out. So I think it was a day to kind of get some younger guys some opportunities, and they got 2 veteran guards that don't need as much work overall. Frazier, a pancake in team period, maybe even a second. I couldn't quite tell. I think he put Leal into the ground on a screen or something. So he's a guy that certainly is out there finishing his plays. But really interested in Mason McCormick today in the one-on-one O-line, D-line session later in practice. He had 3 great reps against Logan Lee, just 1 each time. He looked really comfortable and certainly competent in those aggressive pass sets that the Pat Meyer teaches, and just being able to get that first significant contact and win those reps early. And so 3 wins against Logan Lee, and so that gets you Cam Hayward as your prize. And so they had McCormick go against Hayward later in that period, and it was tough for McCormick, no doubt. There were bull rushes by Hayward, got under him certainly on the second rep they had, and the third rep. McCormick's really trying to set aggressive and trying to, get into Hayward's chest, and Hayward pulls off this nasty outside spin move on McCormick and just leaves him in the dust. But the fact that McCormick, is getting those looks against Hayward, and they want to see what he can do against the very best out there, kind of says that McCormick was doing well, and they want to graduate him up to another class. And when you go against Hayward, you're going against, A+ talent there, and so that's all to me really good news on Mason McCormick.
And the old man still has his fastball, huh?
Yeah, the bull rush. Yeah, I mean, you felt the full NFL. That's going to be probably his welcome to the NFL moment. McCormick probably feeling good. Okay, I just had 3 good reps against Lee, doing well, and then you face Hayward. But no shame in that. It's good for McCormick to get to feel what that's like to go against the Cam Hayward, and kind of feel what that bull rush is like, his power is like. So I think it's a really good teach moment for Mason McCormick.
I had someone on Twitter post a picture that was out there of Frazier with the caption, "The Morgantown Mauler." I like that.
I like it. Yeah,
I like that. But nothing else has changed technically as far as the lines in theory, right? The rotations.
Sure, in terms of where people are playing, in terms of positions, no changes there.
All right. Did we wrap up the offensive side of football? I think we did. Let's go to the defensive side. The bigs. Mike Tomlin kind of shouted out, I think, the Marvin Leal. I know Loudermilk, I think, was one of them. Did he shout out?
Lee. He mentioned Lee.
And Lee, but not. It was Loudermilk and Lee. Yeah, that's who it was. Tell me about, because obviously he wanted to take a longer look at some of those second and third tier guys.
Yeah, additional reps with Ogunjobi, held out a team, and then they were in goal line, and that put Lee on the field as well. They had 4 down linemen for their goal line package. I think it was Hayward, Adams, I want to say Benton or Loudermilk, one of the 2, and then Lee out there at right defensive end. So hard to tell some of the goal line stuff, who was doing well, but the defense overall did well in the run period today. In the live sessions in that goal line drill, even 7 shots, they were consistently good. So you have to imagine the D-line was winning up front, and that's going to include guys like Logan Lee, while Lee had trouble with McCormick 1v1. I think as Intimi, he impressed. So that was nice. Leal made plays too. Some of that's coming against third string work. I think the one TFL he had today in the run period came against third team offensive line. So you want to judge the competition a little bit, but still Leal's making plays and beating guys he's supposed to beat.
All right. Anything else on tell me about Fehoko?
Yeah, I mean, it's typical Fehoko, just a big plugger in the middle. He's tough to move. He's got a good bull. I think against any of the guys he goes against in 1v1, you can feel that power. He had, some success against Nate Herbig today, as he's had against Frazier in the past. He tries to club off of that and not much there, but he's really just, stuff the run kind of guy. I did see in one-on-one today, remember the old Reggie White hump move? That Montravius Adams used that on James Daniels and got him pretty good. So that you don't see that move too often, and I don't know how often Adams will get to use it in a game, but I saw that from him today.
All right. The good news about offensive defensive line is by Friday night, we'll at least have TV tape to look at from the preseason game, and hopefully by Saturday, ideally, that might be wishful thinking. It probably will turn more into like Sunday, the all 22 to look at from the first preseason game. So keep your fingers crossed. I mean, we got real football on the way, and we can start better digging into how these bigs look instead of from the 50-yard line in the stands, right?
Yeah, and then of course just getting to see these guys work together as a unit, and away from the coaches being right next to them and just kind of out there on their own against new people they're less familiar with. When you go against your own guys each day, kind of the general strengths and weaknesses. The defense kind of knows what you're bringing, and it's just nice to put fresh eyes out there, fresh bodies out there, and see what those guys can do.
All right, anything on the outside linebackers?
Ton of pressure from Nick Herbig the last 2 days. Really, he's just been in the backfield the entire time against the pass, and
good.
So it's just been really fun to watch him just with that quick first step, ability to corner, the pass rush arsenal that he has. So I've seen him get repeated pressure, including today.
Inside linebacker, no Queen.
Yeah, no Queen. So it's been a lot of Landon Roberts, Peyton Wilson starting. Good reps there. Mark Robinson's been thumping. To go back to Herbig quickly, I think he's keying the ball too, diagnosing, and that's kind of allowing him to really be a step ahead, because I think he's keying the ball exceptionally well. But yeah, inside guys, Tyler Murray making some plays too. Medikevich had a good play in 7 shots to trip up Jonathan Ward, which Murray finished to stop Ward from stumbling into the end zone. So those guys getting reps. Windman still playing some inside and outside linebacker. Leal also still playing out there on the edge. He dropped in the coverage once today, had a pass thrown his way in the flat. So these guys starting to move around a little bit, reps starting to open up. But yeah, pretty much the same with the inside guys. Jeremiah
Moon need to get back out there, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was talking up his roster odds, and then he gets hurt, and then, they sign Golden, and Golden's getting team reps. So I'm not even sure where Boone's at. I'm sure he's out there. These guys aren't usually wearing jerseys when they don't practice, or just in street clothes. And so it's harder to sometimes see, who's out there and where they're at. But yeah, hopefully Moon is not long-term. He can be out there hopefully on Tuesday. I think Mike Tomlin made a comment that some of these guys got to use the off day to get right, be out there for Tuesday, because that's kind of a start of your game week, and shortened game week, and not really game planning, but still you got a game there on Friday, and you certainly want to be out there for that experience. So hopefully Moon will be out there sooner than later.
All right. How about secondary notes? Guys at corner, guys at safety. I think Ryan Watts had a pick today, right?
Yeah, he did. That was the one off of Kyle Allen in the goal line period. It was, again, poor throw from Allen, but Watts taking advantage and finishing the play, and that's all you can ask for. Probably a little less to note today because it was so run heavy and big people heavy. We have not talked much about Joey Porter Jr. In training camp, and I don't have any great notes on him today. He had one breakup in a 1v1 drill against Jacob Copeland. So, Porter, a good rep, but it's, going against a guy like Copeland, not going to draw too many headlines. It's not been a bad camp for Porter. I know we haven't talked about him much, and sometimes, Pickens will make a play on him, or Jefferson will make a play on him. It's going to happen from time to time. I think he's had tight coverage overall. Receivers have made some good catches. They've had good passes thrown on them. So just want to at least mention Porter because he's not been talked about much. I don't think it's been a bad camp. I think it's been a fine camp. And frankly, he does not get targeted that often either because he is Joey Porter Jr., the best cornerback on this team.
All right. How about Dante Jackson? We haven't talked about him much lately.
Yeah, he had, I think, a breakup in one of those periods, not the team period today. It's been quieter, but it's been also fine. I think he certainly turned heads and made plays early, and then it's kind of been more even and maybe not super high impactful plays, but not any super negative plays. Maybe some footing issues, slipping, but not stuff that I'm worried about. Corey Trice continues to get some increased reps, and so that's good to see, and we'll certainly want to see how he's used, especially in some sub packages. Come Friday's game, Cam Sutton still working at safety. And Nate Meters, the backup safety, don't talk about him too often. He's made some plays, had a pick in one of those individual competition periods today. And he's a pretty aggressive tackler who put his face in the fan, had a good run fill on somebody today as well. So I just want to mention him as a guy that might hang around the practice squad.
All right, as far as starting slot goes at this point, it's probably, not including, a safety in some packages and all. It's either going to be Beanie Bishop or probably a guy from the outside, right?
For week one, yeah, that's where things are at. It's basically Bishop's job to lose, and if he can play well, it'll be his. If not, they'll probably go outside. I mean, Graylon Arnold's made some plays. I don't want to completely discount him. The injury was a little hiccup. I think he'll be back out there for Friday's game for sure. But yeah, it's looking that way for Bishop to get that first crack and have the best chance to win it.
I mean, they're getting. We said, look, you're probably going to get a good look at him in this camp, and boy, have they. And hopefully he can stay upright. And I mean, we got 3 preseason. He's going to get a lot of burn, is he not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he should. I mean, obviously, sometimes what the offense does dictates if you're putting out nickel or not, but you should have enough steps overall, especially over the course of 3 preseason games to get a comfortable and full evaluation on Beanie Bishop. I want to see him against the run. I think he's aggressive. I think he'll be fine against the run in terms of his want-to and desire, but I've not really gotten a great feel for him attacking the run and just being around in those moments. Because again, when you're in run sessions, in Arthur Smith's system, you're in a lot of 12 personnel, 13 personnel. So defense is going to be in their base and are putting their slot corner out there. And so you don't get as many reps as you might in other years. Kalen Barnes, by the way, has been a better run defender than what I thought. I think he sets the edge well. And that's good to see.
All right. I don't think today's 7 shots is going to go down in the 7 shots Hall of Fame, but recap it real quick.
Yeah, recap. Let me pull up my notes here. First one, Landon Roberts getting pressure, Fields spinning out, scrambling to the left for a touchdown, give the win to the defense. Next one, this is live, by the way. Najee Harris up the middle, bounced off somebody, tried to spin to his left, but TJ Watt, Peyton Wilson tackles just shy of the goal line. Third one was Fields hitting Van Jefferson for a touchdown, back left corner. Fourth rep was Jalen Warren. I didn't get a great look at this play, but I'm pretty sure Warren was short. I think Casey flew in there and helped stop Warren at the goal line. Fifth one was Michael P. Ryan scoring right side for the touchdown. Sixth rep was the one I mentioned earlier, Medikevich knifing in, grabbing Jonathan Ward's leg, and Ward stumbling, trying to stay on his feet as he goes off left side, and then Tyler Murray putting a shoulder into him to stop him short of the end zone. And the last one was Kyle Allen, incomplete, back right corner to Jeray Jenkins. That one not really even that close to being catchable for Jenkins. So defense winning 7 shots, 5-2. And they also won the goal line period, I think about a similar score, 4-2 or 5-2. So good day for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense overall.
What was the best thing you saw today? What the most notable thing you saw today?
Mason McCormick. In that one-on-one session against Logan Lee, and then getting to watch him, take on the big boy in Cam Hayward. But kind of fun to see that maturation even inside that period where you're going against the rookie on rookie. You do well, you go up all of a sudden the top floor there to Cam Hayward. But just even watching McCormick in his set, he looked more comfortable. I know a lot of these guys come in with Pat Meyer. He's more aggressive. I talk about it a lot, but I've really studied and listen to some of the coaching clinics on Pat Meyer, so I feel like I have a good understanding of what he wants and how he teaches things, the on-body sets, the off-body pass sets, and that can be an adjustment for veterans and rookies, newcomers alike. And McCormick look good there. We'll see how it looks in game, of course, but that impressed me because I thought that might be an issue for McCormick, but I think he's buying into the idea, and that's going to be important for him.
All right, Alex, we ran about an hour on that Saturday show, so we had agreed to kind of cut this one a little bit shorter tonight. And all the Steelers obviously are not practicing on Monday. Alex and I will be back on Monday morning with a full version of the Terrible Podcast. Got a lot of interesting topics to cover there. Get by SteelersDepot.com and read the daily diaries if you're not already doing so. Packed full with even more information that we are able to cram into these special edition podcasts there. So our next special edition of the Terrible Podcast will be on Tuesday afternoon. Should have it up a little earlier in the night, I think, because I believe they practice at 10:35. Is that correct on Tuesday, Alex?
Yeah, 10:30 morning practices for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
All right. So that's the plan. So you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, upright navigational bar, and follow the directions that way. So until Monday morning, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024 with Dave and Alex.